بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الناصح الأمين اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد بإذن الله تعالى. Over these next couple of sittings, we would like to take some time to reflect on the story of the boys of the cave that comes in Surah Al-Kahf. Bidnillahi ta'ala, for those who have the app on your mobile devices, or for those who would like to grab a mushaf or a copy of the translation of the Qur'an, then we encourage you to do so, inshallah ta'ala, as we go over these ayat. Now, granted, we are not going to be able to go over the story in totality, but bithnillahi ta'ala, we want to take some benefit from it. And as the saying it goes, مَا لَا يُدْرَكْ كُلْ لَا يُدْرَكْ جُلْ. Whatever you cannot do in totality, then you're not to leave it in totality. But bithnillahi ta'ala, we will take from it what we can and reflect and benefit bithnillahi ta'ala. Reflecting upon the Qur'an is something that is tremendously important. And it's something that we are all encouraged to do, is to reflect and to ponder over the Qur'an. Allah Azza wa Jal, He has informed us that He has sent this noble book down so that we may reflect over it, and that men of understanding will gain a reminder from it. As Allah Ta'ala, He says, كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ إِلَيْكَ مُبَارَكٌ, a book that we have sent it down to you, a blessed book in which we have sent it down unto you. لِيَدَبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ, so that its verses could be reflected over, could be pondered over. وَلِيَتَذَكَّرَ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ, and so that those men of understanding will gain a reminder. So that those men of understanding, they will gain a reminder. Allah Azza wa Jal, He warns us about not reflecting over the Qur'an. As Allah Ta'ala, He says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنِ, and do they not reflect over the Qur'an? And are they not going to reflect over the Qur'an? أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا, or are their hearts covered? Is there a lock upon the heart that you're not reflecting over the Qur'an? And this is because not reflecting over the Qur'an, then this is a sign of a disease or a sickness or an ailment of the heart. This is a sign that perhaps the heart is locked, that we don't reflect over the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This Qur'an is tremendous. And it is important that we understand that this Qur'an is tremendous. Its benefit for us in our lives, there are no words that could describe it. We need the Qur'an. We need to reflect over the Qur'an. We need to read the Qur'an. We need the Qur'an. If we find that there are issues inside of our lives that are arrayed, they're not in order, they're all over the place, they're in need of rectification, They're in need of fixing. Then we have to ask ourselves about our relationship with Allah's book. We have to ask ourselves about our relationship and connection to Allah's book. Are we reflecting over it? Are we reading it? Are we pondering over it? Or do we understand it? Are we implementing it correctly? Are we living in accordance to it? Naam. Because the Qur'an, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Hujjatun laka aw alayk," that the Qur'an will either be a proof for you or be a proof against you. It will be a proof either for you or against you. Naam. It will be a proof for you if what? If you read it, if you contemplate over it, if you understand it, if you live in accordance to it, then it's a proof for you. If you abandon the Qur'an, if you don't implement the Qur'an, then it will be a proof against you. If you memorize from it but you don't implement it, if you read it but you don't live in accordance to it, then it will be a proof against you. This Qur'an is tremendous. Allah Ta'ala, He says, لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله. That if this Qur'an was revealed upon a mountain, then you would have seen that mountain crumble to pieces. It would rent asunder, crumble to pieces, due to the fear that it has, from Allah Azza wa Jal. متصدعا من خشية الله. It will crumble to pieces due to the fear that it has from Allah Azza wa Jal. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. Allah Ta'ala, He says, وَتِلْكَ الْأَمْثَالُ نَضْرِبُهَا لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. And these are the parables that we set forward to mankind so that perhaps they will reflect, so that perhaps they will ponder. Now, so it is incumbent that we ponder over the Qur'an. As we mentioned, this surah is contained, this qissa, this story, it is contained in Surah Al-Kahf. And all of the chapters of the Qur'an are tremendous. All of the ayat of the Qur'an are tremendous. All of them. Naam. This surah has some specific characteristics or some specific acts or specific points of virtue that are related to it. Naam. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, this will serve, bi'idhnillah, as an encouragement for us to pay attention to this surah and to pay attention to what comes in this surah from guidance, so on and so forth. Naam. There comes a hadith on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the authority of Abu Darda, عن أبي درداء رضي الله تعالى عنه قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من حفظ 10 آيات من أول سورة الكهف عصم من الدجال. That whoever memorizes 10 verses from the beginning of Surah Al-Kahf, then he will be protected from the Dajjal. وفي الرواية, it comes another hadith, another narration, where it says, من آخر Surah Al-Kahf, from the end of Surah Al-Kahf. Whoever memorizes 10 from the beginning, then it comes another narration, and 10 from the end of Surah Al-Kahf, then they will be protected from the Dajjal. Na'am. This, if we were to contemplate on it, we will realize the importance of Surah Al-Kahf, as there was never a prophet nor messenger except that they warned their people from a Dajjal. They all warned their people from a Dajjal. So, this surah, if we were to memorize the first 10 or the last 10, then it will be a protection from a Dajjal. Subhanallah. That's very important. Naam, it's something that's very important. We should pay a lot of attention to this surah and the meaning the meanings of the ayat that are inside of this surah. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم, and the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, من قرأ سورة الكهف في يوم الجمعة أضاء له من نور ما بين جمعتين. That whoever recites this surah يوم الجمعة, then they will have a light between two Jum'ah. They will have a light between, يعني بين جمعتين, between two Jum'ah. Now, so we see here that we are encouraged, highly encouraged, to recite this surah weekly. Now, so I want you just to reflect. All of those surah, all of those chapters from the Qur'an that we are encouraged to recite. Now, these are chapters that we should pay very close attention to, as relates to reciting them, as relates to memorizing them, and in particularly here, as relates to understanding their meanings, contemplating and reflecting over them, and living in accordance to the guidance that is contained therein. Now, it becomes very, very, very important for us. The first hadith, the hadith an Abi Darda, Rawahu Muslim. It's been collected by Imam Muslim. Hadith Sahih. Naam. The second hadith is a hadith صححه الألباني في الصحيح الترغيب. على كل حال, hadith Sahih, well known about the virtues of reciting Surah Al-Kahf every Jumu'ah. To get some background on this particular surah, there is a reason for it being revealed. Naam, there's a reason for it being revealed, like many of the surah in the Qur'an. There are reasons that they were revealed. Naam, many you find like this, and you'll find these ahadith in the books of Asbab al-Nuzul, the reasons and for sending down particular ayat and surah. This particular one, it comes عن سعيد بن جبير عن ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما أن مشركي القريش, that the polytheists of the Quraysh, بعثوا نضر بن الحارث والعقبة بن أبي معيط إلى أحبار اليهود بالمدينة, that they sent these two to the monks, or to the rabbis, we should say, نعم, to the rabbis in Medina, نعم, to the rabbis in Medina. فقالوا لهم, and he said to them, سلوهم عن أمره وأخبروهم خبره وصفوا له مقالته. They said, tell them about his, ask them about his affair, meaning Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they sent these two to go and to speak to the rabbis from the Jews in Medina. They said, ask them about him, meaning Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and inform them about what is going on with him. Inform him about what is happening in this occurrence, and describe what he is saying to them. فَإِنَّهُمْ أَهْلُ الْكِتَابِ الْأَوَّلِ, because they are the people from the first book. عِنْدَهُمْ عِلْمُ مَا لَيْسَ عِنْدَنَا مِنْ عِلْمِ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ, because they have knowledge with them that we don't have with us, that they have from the knowledge of the prophets. Naam. So go and ask them about him. فَقَدِمَ الْمَدِينَةِ, so they went to Medina. فَسَأَلَ أَحْبَارِ الْيَهُودِ, so they asked the rabbis from the Jews, عنه, they asked them about him. وَأَخْبَرُوهُمْ بِمَا يَقُولُونَ, and they told him about what he says. فَقَالُوا لَهُمْ, so these rabbis, they said to them, سَلُوهُ عَنْ ثَلَاثَةٍ. Ask him about three things. سَلُوهُ عَنْ ثَلَاثٍ. Ask him about three affairs. فَإِنْ أَخْبَرَكُمْ بِهِنْ فَهُوَ نَبِيٌّ مُرْسَلٌ. And if he informs you about them, he tells you about them, then verily he is a prophet that has been sent by Allah. If he answers you right, he tells you about them, then he is a prophet that has been sent by Allah. وَإِلَّا هُوَ رَجُلٌ مُتَقَوِّلٌ. And if not, if he doesn't answer you properly, then he is a man who is lying. He is a man who has invented. He's a false prophet. Naam. So they said, سَلُوهُ عَنْ فِتْيَةٍ ذَهَبُوا بِالدَّهْرِ الْأَوَّلِ مَا كَانَ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ فَإِنَّهُمْ كَانَ لَهُمْ حَدِيثٌ عَجِيبٌ. They said, ask him about those young boys. Those young boys that left, or those young boys that went away from the times of the old, from olden times, times of antiquity. Ask about them. Because verily inside of their affairs, then there is some amazing aspects to their affair. There's some amazing speech as relates to those particular ones. Ask them about these boys. They said, وَسَلُوهُ عَنْ رَجُلٍ طَوَّافٍ طَافَ مَشَارِقَ الْأَرْضِ وَمَغَارِبَهَا مَا كَانَ نَبُؤُهُ. And ask him about the man who used to extensively journey the earth, going to the far east and going to the far west, and ask about the affair as relates to him, and those things that are connected to him and about him. And they intended by this one, who knows? Who did they intend? Naam?
The green one. Khidr?
No.
Dhul Qarnayn.
Naam, Dhul Qarnayn. Ahsant. Naam, Dhul Qarnayn. And that story comes where? Surah Kahf. Naam. The story about the boys who disappeared. Where's that story at? Surah Kahf. Naam. Alhamdulillah. And they said, وَسَلُوهُ عَنِ الرُّوحِ مَا هُ. And ask him about the ruh, the soul. What is it? Ask him about the soul. What is it? Naam. And as we know, as it comes in Surah Isra, Allah Ta'ala, He revealed, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ. And they ask you about the soul. Naam. فَقُلُ الرُّوحِ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. So say that the soul is from the affairs of my Lord. The soul is from the affairs of my Lord. وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا قَلِيلٍ. And you have not been given from knowledge except a little bit. Naam. You've not been given from knowledge except a little bit. Ala kulli hal. So they got these questions, and they came back. They came back to Mecca, and they presented these questions to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Naam. When they asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about these questions, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't know the answer. He didn't know. So he told them, I will answer you tomorrow. Ajibukum, yani ghadan, ajibu. I'll answer you tomorrow. Because it was understood that what? That wahi, revelation, will have to come upon him, telling him the answer. And herein is the test. If revelation comes telling him the answer, then we know he's Nabiyyun Mursal. He is a prophet that has been sent. If no revelation comes to him, then this is an indication that what? He's a false prophet. Now, as we know, he's a true prophet. Now, huwa Nabiyyul Haqq. Now, so he told them, I'll answer you tomorrow. But then what happened was, he told them that, وَلَمْ يَسْتَثْنِ. But he didn't say, Insha'Allah. So 15 days passed. 15 days passed. And that's why there comes an ayah. Here's a test for you. There comes an ayah, and the answer is kind of like, but there comes an ayah. Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. And don't say about anything, I'm going to do it tomorrow, except that you have to say, Insha'Allah. Na'am. And this is because he's come back tomorrow, but he didn't say Insha'Allah. So Allah Ta'ala, He taught all of the ummah that when you speak about things that are going to happen in the future, you say, Insha'Allah. Na'am, you say, Insha'Allah. But what surah does that ayah come in? Surah Kahf. Na'am. Ahsantum. Na'am. But this is why. So after the 15 days, Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, he came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam with this surah. Surah Al-Kahf. Now, like, so this surah is a surah that is what? Is tremendous. And it's from those signs that point to the truthfulness in the messengership of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Naam. So Allah Ta'ala, and before that, before getting into that, before I forget, it is important that when these stories come inside of the Qur'an, that we understand that there is a significance why they are being narrated in the Qur'an. Naam. We saw a little bit of it from the questions that these Jews had the mushrikun ask. Naam. So they see the importance of this particular, of these stories. But also we should know that that inside of the stories in the Qur'an, then it comes a lesson. There comes a lesson. Allah Ta'ala says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قِصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. That verily inside of their stories, meaning all of the stories in the Qur'an, then there is a lesson. There is a lesson, ibrah. There is a lesson for those men of understanding. For those men of understanding, there is a lesson. Because you have to remember something. Is that what? These stories, these are not fictitious tales. These are not pieces of fiction that are narrated, but rather these are what? These are pieces of history. These are historical events. Now, these are things that have taken place. So when it comes to these stories, we have to look at it and we have to understand it from that standpoint, that these are historical events, these are historical facts. Now when it comes to history, the Muslim, he understands the significance of history. He understands how we have to look at history not from the bab of ilm al-shay, because these stories لا تسرد لمجرد المعرفة. These stories, they have not been narrated to us just from the standpoint to tell us about them. Now, not from the standpoint of ilm al-shay, not from the standpoint of just FYI, just so you know, so on and so forth. No, but they have been narrated to us because there are lessons that can be gained from these stories. There are lessons that we can take away from these stories and apply them to our lives. Now, so we have to look at it from that standpoint, and likewise history as a whole. As the ulama, they have a saying, they say, al-qisas jundun min junudillah, that, or tarikh and other, jundun min junudillah, that the stories or history, then they are soldiers from the soldiers of Allah. Now, they are soldiers from the soldiers of Allah. Why? Because these are historical facts. These are things that are not up for debate. They happened. Now, they're not up for debate. They happened. And for this, to give you an example of how these things are utilized to support the truth, right? Is that what? Is that Sufyan al-Thawri, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, لَمَّا اسْتَعْمَلَ الرُّوَاةِ الْكَذِبِ اسْتَعْمَلْنَا لَهُمْ التَّارِيخِ. He said, once the narrators started to use lies, right? Because you had people of innovation, people who had agendas, so they started to lie. They started to fabricate things to support their narrative, right? So once they started to twist facts and this, he said, then we utilize history against them. We utilize history to show their lies and to expose their lies and untruths. Now, this is from the benefits, or one of the benefits that we gain from what? From history. Also, as the ulama, they explain, is that when you look at historical events, it is not, or the Muslim, he does not, or she does not just look at them from the standpoint of reading what happened, what took place, a series of events, so on and so forth. No. But Allah Ta'ala has given us a methodology in how we deal with historical events. And that's in what? Allah Ta'ala said, look, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرًا. That inside of their stories, then there is a lesson. There's something that could be learned from it. Now, so when we look at history and you look to see which nations were successful and why they were successful, what led to their success. What was the end result of those nations who disbelieved in their prophets that were sent to them? What were the bad ramifications that came from not obeying their prophets? What was the end result of those who turned away from Allah's deen? What was the benefit of those who turned towards and accepted Allah's deen? What was the outcome of those who answered the call of the prophets and the messengers? Na'am. So on and so forth. وَقِسْ عَلَى ذَلِكَ. The ulama, they explain it because listen, the Muslim, we have to remember that our thinking, our minds, they are not restricted to looking at things just as they relate to us religiously. Now, we look at how things relate to us religiously because that is our foundation. That is the asl. That is the anchor, for lack of a better term, of our lives. Is what? Is our deen, our faith, our iman, our aqidah, our minhaj. Now, this is bila shak bila rayb, no doubt. That's a given, right? But also we are human beings who what? Who live in the world. Now, we're human beings who live in the world. So we have to understand what has happened to those who came before us. Because the believer is not what? Is not stung from what? From the same hole? Twice. The believer is not stung from the same hole twice. You learn sometimes from the mistake of others what not what? To do. You learn from the mistake of others what not to do. If an individual is successful in a particular thing, then you don't reinvent the what? The wheel. You follow the model. If a person had a good business model, for example, and it was halal, no funny stuff, no lying, cheating, no riba, nothing like that. But it was a good business model, right? And you want to be successful, and you're in an industry that is the same industry or an industry that can also benefit from that business model. The wise man, what does he do? He follows. He employs that same model. Why? Because it worked. It worked. That makes sense? It makes sense in the dunya, right? Because why? Truth is truth. What makes sense makes sense. You understand? That's why let's take it to the deen. Because in the dunya it makes sense, right? How you know something is true is that it's universally true. It makes sense no matter what situation you put it in. It makes the same amount of sense. That makes sense? Right? But in the deen, we all want to go to Jannah. All of us, right? Everybody want to go to Jannah, right? But Allah Azza wa Jal, He has sent to us a prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that taught us what to do. Na'am. Ma min shay يقربكم إلى الجنة ويبعدكم عن النار إلا وقد أمرتكم به كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. That there is nothing that brings you close to the Jannah and away from the fire except I commanded you to do it. وما من شيء يقربكم إلى النار ويبعدكم عن الجنة إلا وقد نهيتكم عنه. And there is nothing that will bring you close to the fire, far away from the Jannah, except I prohibited you from doing it. Right? So the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is clear, it's wadah, it's clear. So we know what path to take. That makes sense? The Prophet ﷺ said, قَدْ تَرَكْتُكُمْ عَلَى الْبَيْضَاءِ لَيْلُهَا كَالنَّهَارِهَا. I left you upon that which is clear. Its night is like its day. That's how clear it is. Its night is like its day. That's how clear it is. So if you want to go to Jannah, then you have to follow the way of who? The Prophet ﷺ. Because he has been sent to teach us what to do. In this instant, especially, we do not reinvent the wheel. It doesn't make sense. Allah Ta'ala, He sent the Prophet ﷺ to tell us the way. So we follow the way of the Prophet ﷺ. That's why for the Muslims we say it's not really an option, is it? For us it's not an option. Following the Sunnah, of course, that's like, Why? Who are Rasulullah? Because he's the messenger of Allah. Who else we going to follow? Who else we going to follow? He's the messenger of Allah. He's been sent, liyuta'. He's been sent so we obey him. Right. Person wants a practical example. You see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us everything that we need. Right? Because see, we have evils of ourselves. We got evils of ourselves. Right? So a person's evil self may say, that's good, but that's the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, who can be like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Of course, nobody. We're not saying that. Okay. Right? But so Allah Ta'ala has given us examples of those individuals who were not prophets, but who implemented the prophetic guidance correctly. And there's no ambiguity around the fact that they got it right. They got it right. How do we know they got it right? Because Allah told us they got it right. Allah Ta'ala, He says, وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبِعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Allah Ta'ala, He says what means, and those who came first and foremost from the muhajirun, those who made hijrah, and from the ansar, those who took them in, helped them, and aided them, and supported them. But the muhajirun and ansar, collectively, who are they? Sahaba. They're the Sahaba. But Allah Ta'ala, He says, He's pleased with them and they are pleased with Him. So we know that their way is what? Is correct. Allah said it's correct. Allah said He's pleased with them. That means what they did was right. Collectively. All the children of Adam make mistakes. But collectively what? Their way was correct. How we know it's correct? Allah Ta'ala, He says in another ayah, وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولِ, and whoever contradicts the messenger, مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى, after clear guidance had been made clear to them, وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and they follow a way other than the way of the believers, نَوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى وَنُصْلِهِ جَهَنَّمَ وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا, we will leave him the way he left himself to, enter him into the Jahannam, and what an evil, most worst final abode. The shahid is that Allah Ta'ala says, and they follow a way other than the way of the believers. مَنْ هُمَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, who are the believers? The believers who, when the ayah was revealed, who? The Sahaba. So Allah Ta'ala telling us that we got to be upon their way. Even in another ayah, Allah Ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبِعُوهُمْ, and those who follow them, who? Sahaba. So this is showing us that what? That their way was correct. Does anybody debate that though? Like with in reality, with a debate that credence is given to it, right? Because does anyone believe that we understand better than Abu Bakr? No. Anyone think our faith is better than Abu Bakr's faith? No. Anyone think that we understand better than Umar or Uthman or Ali or Abdullah ibn Mas'ud or Bilal or Suhaib or radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in? Does anyone believe that they're more knowledgeable than them? No way. No one believes that. Na'am? No one believes that. No one believes that we're better than them. We can't. Because when that man asked the Prophet ﷺ, who is the best of mankind, what did the Prophet ﷺ say? What did he say? My generation. Khairun nas qarni. The best of the people is my generation. And that means the best of the people after the Anbiya and the Rusul. Because hands down, the prophets and the messengers are the best human beings ever. Okay? So after the prophets and messengers, who are the best human beings? The Sahaba. So their superiority is clear. Their way is proven. So now a person, he comes and he says, is it a question of whether or not we follow the way of the Sahaba? Is that even a question? Who in the right mind wants to be upon something different than Abu Bakr? I don't. Right? You want to be upon something different than Umar? Than Ali? Than Uthman? No. Do you think you'll be successful if you did that? No. Their way is proven to be correct. So what? We do not reinvent what? The wheel. So following their way is a no-brainer, as they say. Because that's Islam. That's Islam. That makes sense? But also, back to the dunya and how we benefit from history and how we reflect on it, is because you will find, as the ulama they mentioned, عواطف الناس لا تتغير, that the inclinations and the desires of the people, they generally don't change. They don't change. So if you look back in times of old, like you look now and so on and so forth, you're going to find the same types of people. Maybe not all from the same cloth, but they're all cut from specific cloths. Now, so you're going to find an arrogant one in this time is like an arrogant one in that time. One who's humble, and here's like one who's, you find people humble there. One who is giving in this era, you'll find others who are giving in their eras. Those who are stingy in this era, you find those who are stingy in that era. Those who are hungry for power in this era, you find those hungry for power in that era. Those who, to the end of it, right? People pretty much are the same. So the point is that you can look at the movements of people and what brought success, what didn't bring success, what to the end of it, and you can gain from it a lesson. Why? Because those lessons could be applied across the board, from era to era to era to era. Now, I mean each time frame. That makes sense? So this is how we have to look at the stories. Now, طيب. Allah Ta'ala, He says, أَمْ حَسِبْتَ أَنَّ أَصْحَابَ الْكَهْفِ وَالرَّقِيمِ كَانُوا مِنْ آيَاتِنَا عَجَبًا. Because see, the Jews, when the Jews said, oh, there's, in their affair, hadithun ajib, it's tremendous, it's so amazing, it's so astonishing, their story. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here in this ayah, He tells the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, am hasibata ay, ya Muhammad, oh Muhammad, do you think that their affair is amazing? As amazing as it may be, that which has been revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, a'jab minhu, is more amazing than it. Now, that which has been revealed to the Prophet ﷺ is more amazing than it. There are other ayat from Allah that are actually more amazing than it. There's not to take away from that it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing, but there are things even more amazing. There are things even more amazing. Now, وَأَصْحَابُ الْكَهْفِ, the ulama, they mentioned, Imam Ibn Kathir, he mentions, ليس أمرهم عجيبا, that their story is not amazing in its scope and in its scale within itself. When you compare it to other things, other ayat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فإن خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار والقمر والكواكب وغير ذلك من الآيات العظيمة الدالة على قدرة الله. Because there are other ayat that are greater from the sky, from the heavens, from the earth, from the alterations of the night and the day, from the moon, from the stars, and other than that, from the great signs which point to the power and the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this shows you Allah Ta'ala's might, that these young boys went to, was put into a slumber for 300 years, 310 years in lunar years, and they didn't eat. They didn't drink. You understand? But yet they still woke up fully healthy. Because Allah, ala kulli shay'in qadir, Allah is over all things capable. It's all easy for Allah Azza wa Jalla. But when you look at that spectacular occurrence and you compare that to the heavens, then you realize it pales in comparison. When you compare that to the earth, it pales in comparison. When you compare that to the sun, to the moon, to the stars, it pales in comparison. That there are greater examples of Allah's might and power and ability. Now, so this is a reminder, and one of the things that we take away from this is that what has been revealed to us is enough for us. What has been revealed to us is enough for us. Because as our Sheikh Muhammad bin Ali bin Adam al-Ethiopi, hafidhahullah ta'ala, who was one of the teachers inside of the Haram al-Makki, he's one of the teachers inside of the vicinity of the Kaaba. Now he mentions, he says you will find a lot of kalam as relates to these particular stories. A lot of stuff that we don't have to depend upon or even give a lot of attention to. They go into issues of what were the names of the boys, and what was the color of the dog, what was the type of hair that the dog had, and so on and so forth. They said all these things, it is not needed that we know these things. There is nothing for us to go and search these things out. He said what Allah has revealed to us about their story inside the Qur'an is all that we need to know to benefit from their story. All these other points, we don't need them. Now, he said, but you may find them in some of the other books of tafsir that go more in depth and more extensive and so on and so forth. He said, but the likes of these things, we don't pay a lot of attention to. The likes of these things, we don't pay a lot of attention to. Because, frankly, we can neither confirm or deny many of these facts. And in knowing these facts, there is no real benefit, there's no real takeaway from us. Yani what color the dog was, there's no... It really doesn't help our life. Right? What kind of hair he had, was it short hair, long hair? Did he shed a lot? Not, I don't know. It really doesn't really help our life, right? So Allah Ta'ala, He didn't mention these things to us. He mentioned to us what is relevant. Naam. So what is inside the Qur'an, it suffices us. But ala kulli hal, it shows you that what has been revealed to us is sufficient. اتبعوا ما أنزل إليكم من ربكم ولا تتبعوا من دونه أولياء. Allah Ta'ala says, and follow what has been revealed to you from your Lord, and do not follow other than that. Naam, what we have suffices us. Alhamdulillah. Naam. Ala kulli hal. So Allah Ta'ala, He says, أَمْ حَسِبَتَ أَنَّ أَصْحَابَ الْكَهْفِ وَالرَّقِيمِ كَانُوا مِنْ آيَاتِنَا عَجَبًا. He says, and do you think that the people of the people of the cave and the Raqim, that they were from our amazing signs, that they were from our amazing signs? الذي أتيتك من العلم والسنة والكتاب أفضل من شأن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم. He said, rarely that which I have given to you from the book and from the sunnah is better, is more superior and better than the situation and the affair of the boys of the cave and of the Raqim. طيب, فما هو الرقيم? What is the Raqim? What is that? Because we know the boys of the cave, we got that, right? But what's Raqim? What is this? نعم. فقال العلماء ومنهم ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما الرقيم هو الكتاب. The Raqim, then it means a book or something that is written. Something that is written. نعم. The Raqim, Imam Ibn Kathir, he mentions اللوح من حجارة كتب فيه قصة أصحاب الكهف, that it was a piece of slate or rock that had engraved in it, and this is where we're going to get to the actual the meaning of the word itself, that had engraved in it the story of the boys of the cave. It had engraved in it the story of the boys of the cave. وَوُضِعُوا فِي بَابِ الْكَهْفِ, and it was put, or Bab al-Ghar, and it was put at the entrance of the cave that they were discovered in. It was put at the entrance of the cave in which they were discovered, or which they slumbered in and they slept in for those centuries, right? But Raqim, it comes in this form grammatically. Raqim على وزن فعيل ومعناه مفعول. فعيل بمعنى مفعول، أي رقيم بمعنى مرقوم. نعم. Meaning that it's something that was engraved and written, but it means marqum, something. It don't really make sense in English. Anyway, but in any event, to give you an example, because there are other words in the Arabic language that come like this. They come out, it wasn't fa'il, but they mean maf'ul. For example, qatil, a person who was murdered, right? The maf'ul وقع عليه فعل الفاعل. The maf'ul in the Arabic language is that which the action of the doer, it fell on it. That makes sense? Okay, so the action here is what? Is murder. The murderer murdered, or the killer killed. So the one who the action fell on it, as opposed to saying qatil, deceased, but we understand from it what? Maqtul, that the act of killing fell on him. He got killed. That makes sense? So deceased meaning he got killed, the one who was murdered. Right? So likewise, this engravement or on parchment or the like, then that which was engraved, then this is marqum. This is marqum, that which was engraved. That makes sense? I tried. I tried. Alhamdulillah. But this is an encouragement for me to learn Arabic so that things like this will be more accessible, inshallah. Now, so these boys, they went to their cave, and their story is really one that is amazing. Allah Ta'ala says, إِذْ أَوَى فِتْيَةُ. And fitya, before we move on, fitya, it means boys. Right? It means boys. وَهُوَ جَمْعَ فَتَى. One boy is fata. Three or more, you can say fitya. Right? And there comes a few words in the Arabic language upon this same description. Like you have ghulam, a boy, and ghilma, boys. Right? And the like. وَقِسْ عَلَى ذَلك. So these young boys, and there's a benefit in that they were identified as young boys. One, they was young boys, but there's a benefit that we get from them being young, being youth. Allah Ta'ala says, إِذْ أَوَى الْفِتْيَةُ إِلَى الْكَهْفِ فَقَالُوا رَبُّنَا. When the boys, they went to the cave, فَقَالُوا رَبَّنَا فَقَالُوا رَبَّنَا آتِنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً. They said, "Oh our Lord, give us from you mercy. Give us mercy directly from you. وَهَيِّئْ لَنَا مِنْ أَمْرِنَا رَشَدًا. And rectify our affair from us, make our affair end in a manner that is best for us." Now this dua, it will become more significant when we understand the situation that led the boys to have to flee to the cave. That led the boys to have to flee to the cave. Allah Ta'ala, He says, فَضَرَبْنَا عَلَىٰ آذَانِهِمْ فِي الْكَهْفِ سَنِينَ عَدَدًا. So we made them slumber and caused them to sleep inside of the cave for many, many years. ثُمَّ بَعَثْنَاهُمْ لِنَعْلَمَ أَيُّ الْحِزْبَيْنِ أَحْصَى لِمَا لَبِثُوا أَمَدًا. And then we woke them up to see which of the two parties was more correct with relates to how long they had stayed there. Because basically when they woke up, they broke into two camps in the sense of they had opinions of how long they had been there. Some said, "Oh, we've been there for a day or so." Some said, "No, we've been there for a part of a day." So they were debating amongst themselves. Because their situation was as such that when they entered into the cave, it was in the morning time. And when they woke up, it was at the end of the day. So they thought they was in the same day. They thought it was the same day that they first entered into it. Some say, "Oh, we slept for maybe a day." Some say, "Nah, just a little bit of a day," so on and so forth. But they thought it was the same day. But it wasn't. It was 300 years later. Huh?
310.
310. But 300 years, what does that mean? No, it's a question. Somebody said, "Man, that's a silly question. What do you mean 300 years? 300 years mean 300 years. Like, what are you talking about? Maybe a little more. Maybe a little more. Because Allah Ta'ala says they were there for 300 years. Was that a tis'a? Huh?
Never get old.
No. What I guess I'm not... That's what I'm looking for. I am not asking the question right. They were there. Allah Ta'ala says 300 years, add 9. Right? 300 years, if you will count in what kind of years?
Just add 9. It's like add 9 more years to that.
Somebody said lunar. How many people agree? Hmm? Who agrees? Nobody agrees? Okay, so one person agrees. Okay, so if it's not lunar, then it's what? Solar. So which one is it? Hmm? Got the novel Qur'an. All right, since this is for us, right? Which years are shorter? Lunar years. No, it's for you. What you want me to look at? So, yeah. Turn to Surah Al-Kahf. Verse number 25. Which one are shorter? Lunar or solar? Lunar years are shorter. Okay, so if you had to go over a long period of time, which years are going to be more? The lunar or the solar? No, which will be more? Lunar years are shorter. So lunar years will be more. Right, because they're shorter. So they take long. So the solar years take longer. So they'll be what? Shorter. They'll be less. But so in Allah Ta'ala, He says that they were there for 300 years. That means 300. What kind of years? وَلَبِثُوا فِي الْكَهْفِهِمْ ثَلَاثَ سِنِينَ. They were there for 300 years. That means what? What kind of years? Because solar years are what? It takes longer time to get a solar year. So over a long period of time, they're going to be less in number than lunar years.
So it was 300 solar years.
300 solar years and 309
Lunar years.
Lunar years.
99 lunar years.
Right. So if you want to count solar years, 300 years. If you count lunar years, 309 years. 309 years. Right? Because the Hijri year is shorter. So if you go by your Hijri birthday, we don't celebrate birthdays, I'm just saying. But you know how when you're younger, you want to be older than what you are? Right? When you're younger, you want to be older, right? So that's the one you want to, but then as you start getting older, then them solar years start looking alright to you. Right? That makes sense? But ala kulli hal, there are tremendous benefits that are contained inside of this surah. From those benefits, and bidnillahi ta'ala, what time is Maghrib? 6:35. Okay, right. Then we got a little more time. Ma'am. From those benefits that we see here inside of this surah, and we're going to come back to it, is that they were under a rough situation, and they turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They turned to Allah azza wa jal, asking Him to bless them with mercy, to send upon them mercy from Himself, and to make their affairs right. Allah azza wa jal, He goes into more depth about their story, and He says, نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ نَبَأَهُمْ بِالْحَقِّ. He says that we narrate their story to you in truth. إِنَّهُمْ فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. That they were young boys who believed in their Lord. They were young boys who believed in their Lord. فَزِدْنَاهُمْ هُدًى. And we increased them in guidance. We increased them in guidance. This is something here, this particular point is very important. And we're speaking particularly about Allah Ta'ala's statement, وَزِدْنَاهُمْ هُدًى. And we increased them in guidance. They were increased in guidance. Imam Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, he utilized this verse from the many verses and many texts that show that Iman increases. Now, to show that Iman increases. Likewise, the ulama, they utilize this ayat and other ayat that are like it to show that iman, it increases. Because Allah Ta'ala says, and we increase them in guidance. Na'am. And other places Allah Ta'ala says, فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا فَزَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. And those who believe, we increase their iman. We increase it. Na'am. لِيَزْدَادُوا إِيمَانًا مَعَ إِيمَانِهِمْ. So that their iman is increased with iman. Allah Ta'ala says elsewhere in the Qur'an. Na'am. This in its here is something that is tremendous, and this is a takeaway for our life. This will be this is a takeaway that benefits us in our life. Because what? When it comes to the text, we realize, we see from these few verses that yes, iman is given to increase. Right? The ulama, they mention whatever is subject to increase is also subject to what? To decrease. Okay? If it can go up, it can come down. Now, so textually we understand this is the reality, that iman goes up, it goes down. Right? But as individuals, we know ourselves. As individuals, we know ourselves. For those people who there was a time in their life that they weren't that practicing of their religion. Right? Or there was a time in their life where they were kuffar. They were kuffar. We all remember a time in our lives that our iman was lower than it is at this time. Right? Or we might be on the flip end. We might remember a time in our life where our iman was higher than it is right now. Because it can go either way. But let's take the person who accepted Islam, for example. When a person first accepts Islam, the iman that they have is not going to be the same as when they've been Muslim for 5 years and practice and study for 5 years and so on and so forth. Their iman is going to be way more. There may have been things that they have done when they first accepted Islam that they will never dare to do now, because now they know better. Right? The iman is at that point where they understand. That makes sense? So we understand from that standpoint, that practical standpoint, and from our own experience, that yes, iman goes up, it goes down. Now, once we understand that iman goes up and goes down, then we have to know what increases it and what decreases it. Because when we have times that we're feeling low and we want to increase our iman, what do we turn to? In the dhikr of Allah, the hearts become tranquil. If our lives are of such and we're having difficulties and we feel like we cannot put our foot on solid ground, right? Then we have to stop and say, wait, how am I as it relates to remembrance of Allah? How am I? How much have I read the Qur'an this week? How much have I prayed my voluntary prayers? So on and so forth. Right? Because in those are stabilizing factors. Also, when the iman is low, we want to increase it. What do we do to increase it? First, we got to know what is iman. That's the proper answer. My sense. But first, we got to know what is iman. What is the nature of iman? The ulama, they bring, it's called khamsa nunat, 5 noons, to help us memorize what is iman. And they said iman, and it's called 5 noons because every word ends in noon. Yeah? It says al-iman qawlun bil-lisan. See, lisan is in a noon. But that iman is a statement of the tongue. Statement of the tongue. Amal bil-arkan, an action of the limbs. I'tiqad al-janan, belief in the heart. Belief in the heart. And rightfully so, right? Because whatever's inside your heart is going to manifest on your limbs and in your speech. A person who's a good person, right, who has some goodness inside of his heart, that's going to be manifest in his limbs and on his speech. A person who's a foul and nasty-hearted individual, you're going to see that in their behavior and in their speech. Now, so for the believer, for example, the believer, you can see traces of the believer inside of his actions and inside of his speech. Right or wrong? The believer, when something good happens to them, they praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah, mashallah, Allahu Akbar. Right? Because something good happened. When something bad happens, they praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah ala kulli hal, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Their speech is filled with remembrance, with dhikr. Nah? Because this is an indicator of what's where? In the heart. That's why when a person want to accept Islam, he take what? Shahada. Shahada. Shahada, it means what? Testimony, right? But it comes from, in Arabic language, it means to announce something. You make an i'lan, you make an announcement. What is he announcing? What is she announcing? They're announcing that belief that's in their heart. They're letting other Muslims know, I'm Muslim too. Because other than that, we don't know what's in somebody's heart. We don't know. But if it's in the heart, it's easy to say on the tongue. Why not? It's what you believe in. That makes sense. Right? So, when it comes to statements and actions, we see how these are part of Iman. Now, we already agreed that Iman goes up, it goes down. Because we have all these ayat, right? We know from our own personal experience, the time that we feeling like, the time we feeling more energetic and so on and so forth. Right? So, to complete, because we only gave you 3 noons, right? Amal bil arkan, not in the same order we gave, but amal bil arkan, actions of the limbs, qawl bil lisan, statements of the tongue, i'tiqad janan, belief in the heart. But yazidu bi ta'at ar-Rahman, it goes up when one is obedient to ar-Rahman, Allah Azza wa Jalla. So when one is obedient to Allah, it goes up. Wa yanqisu bi ta'at ash-shaytan, and it goes down when one is obedient to shaytan. There come another version, bin isyan, with sin. So sins make the iman go down. Whereas righteousness makes the iman do what? Go up. A person's feeling depressed, he feel like his iman is low. What shaitan come and say? Shaitan come and say, don't worry about praying. Shaitan come and say, you feeling sad? Let's watch some movies. Let's binge watch something. You feeling sad? Put on this record. Listen to this music. Right? You understand? I mean, you know, I don't know who, but, you know, people from where I'm from, know people that'll say, oh, when I was in so-and-so, this record held me down. Right? A lot of times it's people who was incarcerated, things like this, they say, yeah, that record helped me do my bid. I don't need to translate that, do I? That record helped me get through my stint in prison. Right? Because this is what shaitan come. But see, these are kuffar who say things like this. Let's just be clear. These are kuffar. So you have to understand shaitan, he doesn't have a lot of new tricks. He keep tricking people with the same stuff. He just remix the same trick. So when a Muslim is feeling down, shaitan come and say the same thing. Listen to this record. Right? A woman is feeling sad about her relationship, her husband, they having problems, so on and so forth. Put on this slow song. Yeah? Singer, whoever. Because they talking about, heartbreak and all this nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah? Because sometimes when they say misery love company, you just want to hear somebody feeling bad too. Somebody, they man did them bad too. And that make them feel better. But it doesn't. It doesn't. Actually, it's going to make you feel worse. Huh? Shaitan come and tell people when they depressed, drink alcohol. Go get high, drink alcohol. When I was a young kid in school, they have like drug education or whatever, and they break down the different type of drugs and what they do and their effects upon the body and so on and so forth. And when it came, they said that the alcohol was a depressant. It makes sense to me. I said, subhanAllah, the depressant? It make you sad? But then people, when they get sad, get drunk. They get sad, then they do something to make them even more sad? That doesn't make sense to no one. But anyway, this is from the trick of shaitan, because shaitan wants to destroy you. He wants to add misery to your misery, calamity to your calamity, and to your tragedy. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to understand his tricks and understand that no, if you're sad, then what's the way to boost yourself is by obedience unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If your iman feels low, what's the way to increase yourself is by what? Is by righteousness, doing good deeds. So we all benefit from that. But that also should help us in giving advice to those Muslims who are struggling, and also those individuals who just accepted Islam. To always remind them, be steadfast upon your prayers. Be steadfast upon obedience unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As much as you can, do the voluntary acts. Why? This is the best prescription for them. Because this is going to help increase their iman. And now as the iman increases, then it's going to help them to be able to be more compliant unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That makes sense? Now, a sister, she has a problem covering. So is the answer just to berate her, to make her feel bad and tell her how horrible she is and she's such a bad Muslim and she's this and she's that and or to understand it is what it is. The pressures of society, the weakness of her faith, so on and so forth. So she should be encouraged. Make sure you're steadfast upon your prayers. It may not seem like you're talking about her issue, but you're actually giving her what she needs. You understand? As relates to your covering, sister, you know you should cover. That's a given. You know you should cover. But listen, you need to be steadfast on your prayers. Let's talk about your prayers. How is your prayers? Are you steadfast upon your prayers? Do you fast voluntary fast? Maybe just once a month? One Monday a month? Then add a Monday and a Thursday? Then 2 Mondays and a Thursday, 2 Mondays, 2 Thursdays. Whatever it is. Try to encourage them to do more righteousness. Come to the masjid, listen to the circles of knowledge, so on and so forth, right? Because these are the type of things that increase a person's iman. When the iman becomes increased, now it becomes easy to what? To comply to the commands. This is why our mother Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she explained that what? That the Sahaba, they were emptied from those things of Jahiliyyah and then filled with what? Iman. Because if the commands came just like that at the beginning, that'll break a person. It'll break a person. But once a person is acclimated and they have iman, now their perception, their is different. Because now we're doing this to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're doing this to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So although what I'll be doing may be funny looking to some people, but who cares? I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? I was in high school. I was in high school in the 90s. And I came across the hadith, مَا تَحْتَ الْكَعْبَيْنِ فَفِي النَّارِ. Whatever's below the ankles is in the fire. And at the time, I was like, whoa. So, I go to school with high waters on? Right? I had a moment there. I had to think about that. I said, whoa, that's different. But alhamdulillah, Allah Ta'ala guided me. And then you realize, I don't care about what these people say. What's important is if Allah is pleased with me. If they're not pleased with me, who cares? What are they going to do to me anyway? They can't do anything. Right? At the end of the day, they can't do anything. Come day of judgment, what are they going to do? Nothing. They can't do anything. They're not, my Jannah is not dependent on them. Nor, the threat of going to the fire is not dependent on what they think. So, who cares? But the point is that when you look at it from this standpoint, it makes it a little more easier. The sister who comes and she's covering in a society that you may get shunned, you may get a look, some ignorant person may say something negative to you or so on and so forth, then it becomes, maybe she's scared. But as her iman increases and she realizes, who cares what they think? What they think doesn't make or break me. What they think is not going to make Allah pleased with me or not. So who cares? Because what Allah knows about you, that's what's important. So then at that point, it becomes a lot easier to what? To do what you're supposed to be doing. So sometimes you have to kind of step back and take a proxy approach when it comes to dealing with these particular issues, and you have to understand that maybe they're just not there yet. Just like us who struggle with certain things. All of us struggle with certain things. Anybody say they don't struggle with certain things, you a liar. Everyone struggles with something. And it was a time period that things you're doing now, it was hard for you to do. You had hesitation as it relates to them. You said, but now you do it and it's not even a question for you. Do opposite. Never. A'udhu billah. Like it's unfathomable to you. But you wasn't always there. I mean, think about it. For those of us who accepted Islam, there was a time when you was a kafir. Okay, did you accept Islam the first time you heard about Islam? No. You a liar if you say you did. You were not. The Prophet ﷺ said everybody has a period of apprehension and hesitation before they accept Islam except for Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So if you talk to a person one time, they don't accept Islam, you don't, forget him, kafir. No, I mean, subhanAllah, maybe he didn't get it. Maybe he didn't get it. Allah does not guide everyone through everyone's hands. Now, I'll tell you a true life story. There was an individual I grew up with, and we were like childhood friends. I became Muslim, I just give him down. Right? And he never accepted Islam. Based on what I was telling him, based on what I was trying to, plead with him, you need to be Muslim, I tried every way, recite Qur'an to him, tried to talk to him, and he didn't accept Islam. Then he started working with some other Muslims, and one of the Muslims that worked there, he came to me and said, oh, your boy accepted Islam. I said, who? So he told me, I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, subhanAllah, what happened? He said, nah, we just giving him dawah, we pray at the job, we have Jumu'ah there, we was giving him dawah, alhamdulillah, accepted Islam. I said, subhanAllah, Allah guides whom he pleases on the hands of whom he pleases. I said, I would give that man dawah for years, he never took a shahada. He just started working with he took shahada. I said, alhamdulillah. Allah guides whom he pleases, on the hand of whom he pleases. So the point is that just because you went to a person one time, be patient with the people. It may take them time. A person may be new to Islam, certain aspects of the Sunnah you explain to them is new to them, never heard about it before. Give them time to get it. I'm not the most intelligent person. Sometimes you may tell me something, I don't get it the first time you tell me. Maybe the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th time, 20th time, 100th time you say it, then it's, oh, subhanAllah. That's what you meant? I said that 80 times ago. I said, well, I didn't get it. I just understood it right now. Right? And this is how it is. And we have to be patient. But understanding this patience, it extends to all aspects of our lives. Understanding that people just don't turn a switch like that overnight. It takes time. Understanding that you may say it, maybe they don't get it at that time, so on and so forth, is very important. But from this takeaway here, to know that when we have periods that our iman feels down, then we have to what? We have to increase in righteous good deeds. Read Qur'an, give sadaqah, smile in the faces of your brothers because it's charity. Help your brothers if they need help. Right? Do something good. Feed the animals. Alhamdulillah, your beautiful peacocks out here. Feed them. Huh? Google what they eat though. Don't give them stuff they shouldn't be eating. Don't come give them Doritos and stuff. Give them what they should be eating. They food. Right? But these are good deeds. These are good deeds. Never underestimate a small deed. Never underestimate a small deed. Now, it means meeting your brother with a cheerful face. Because to bring joy to a Muslim is a good deed. To bring joy to the Muslims. Bismillahi ta'ala. So that's one thing that we take away from this story. Is that iman increases and decreases. Allah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we'll end here and also begin from this point in the next sitting, inshallah ta'ala, after the salah. Allah ta'ala, He says, نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ نَبَأَهُمْ بِالْحَقِّ, that we narrate their stories unto you in truth. إِنَّهُمْ فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ وَزِدْنَاهُمْ هُدًى, that they were young boys who believed in their Lord, and we increased them in guidance. وَرَبَطْنَا عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ, and like we fortified their heart. إِذْ قَامُوا فَقَالُوا, when they stood and they said, and this was out of bravery. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll see the context of these particular statements. رَبُّنَا رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, they said, our Lord is the Lord of the heavens and the earth. لَنَدْعُوَ مِن دُونِهِ إِلَهًا, we will never call upon anyone other than Him. لَقَدْ قُلْنَا إِذًا شَطَطًا, and if we were to do so, then we would have said a lie. We would have said something that was erroneous, false, and incorrect. هَؤُلَاءِ قَوْمُنَا, these people of ours, اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِهِ آلِهَةً, they have taken others as deities along with Him. لَوْلَا يَأْتُونَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِسُلْطَانٍ بَيِّنٍ, of which they have no rights or authority to do this. فَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ افْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا, and who was worse than the one who invents a lie against Allah. فَإِذِ اعْتَزَلْتُمُوهُمْ وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, and once they had gone away from them, they secluded themselves from them and that which they worship other than Allah. فَأْوُوا لِلْكَهْفِ, they went to the cave. يَنْشُرْ لَكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ وَيُهَيِّئْ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَمْرِنَا مِرْفَقًا. Once they had done this, they secluded themselves away from their people. They went to the cave. They withdrew from them and they went to the cave in order to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They withdraw from them and that was they worship except for Allah, and they sought refuge in the cave. And they said, your Lord will open for you a way from His mercy. This was the yaqeen they had. Your Lord will open for you a way from His mercy. He will make easy for you your affairs. Meaning that He will give to you that which you need from provisions and dwellings, so on and so forth. Now, these ayat, we wanted to just bring them so that we have some type of understanding. But there are contexts that are behind these ayat that is an encouragement for us to not just read the Qur'an, but to study the Qur'an. Because when you delve into the tafsir, you delve into the meanings of these ayat, it opens up a whole new world of understanding for you. The effects upon you are more tremendous. But bi'ithnillahi ta'ala, we will save that until after Maghrib, inshallah ta'ala, and then we will go into the background behind these particular ayat and the context in which these statements they were made, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala, so that we can gain some more benefit. فنكتفي بهذا القدر. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وجزاكم الله خيرا.